Have you seen the video of crooks running across the roof that James Copenhaver took yet? If you haven't, stick around. You're going to want to see this because we're analyzing it and taking a look because it tells us a lot. Hello, everyone. Dr. Chris Martinson of Peak Prosperity here, continuing a citizen's investigation. And boy, have we got a great one. This is incredible what we're going to see here today. We're going to be analyzing the James Copenhaver video of crooks running across the roof. I'm sure you've probably seen it, but if not, wow, you're getting for a surprise. We have to ask the question, did someone let this happen or did someone make it happen? Those are the two hypotheses we're trying to rule out, and we're working hard. And today's video makes that just a little bit more difficult. So let's start here. This is the James Copenhaver film, and we're just going to watch this little chunk here where you can see crooks clearly running across the roof in that red circle. He disappears for a second. Don't worry, we're going to analyze this almost frame by frame to make sure we understand what it's telling us. And it goes to there and then just stops. Now, really wish we had the before, and we just need a little more. If that's all he shot, that's great. But if there's more to this, we need every single frame of this film. One more time. He's running across, we're not sure which roof, but I'm pretty sure we can tell you he's not on Building 6 yet. He disappears from view, comes back up. Now he is on Building 6. This is where the shots were taken from. We have a lot of audio analysis to go with this as well. We have a site reconstruction where I'm pretty sure we have everything in a 3D CAD model right now that will explain everything. So we'll get there eventually. Now, yep, that's James Copenhaver filming there. Edward Baker sent me this picture. That's him in the white shirt circled there. That's amazing. This is actually the video taken from Fox News. So Fox News, if you're watching this, please, please, please release those extra seconds. We need it. I understand you maybe edited this down or just took a clip that showed what you wanted it to show, but we desperately need to know if there's anybody else on the roof before, after, during, how long he was up there. Because as we look at this, well, he comes across. I showed you that still from the lady there, and I'll show you that they run to here, and then they cut right just after about, comes as done. So that's it. That's the end. So that's all we have. So what are we looking at here? All right. This is the first frame where you can clearly see he pops up. So that's our first orientation of the Copenhaver video where we can see crooks, okay? And if we step through this piece by piece, we start here. He's got his very first appearance here, and I've got the time indicated. Oh, I'm going to get my tool out here. He starts here. He runs across the roof. We can clearly see him right here. He disappears for almost exactly 6 seconds. So he runs across from here and then appears to duck down. I think we have an explanation for that, of course. He's running across the roof, and then there are those little what would you call them? They're just the connectors between the buildings. I call them a causeway, but there's those connectors, and they're down a little bit and up a little bit. If you watch the video of the Beaver County helmet cam person, they had to climb down and climb back up again. That's my explanation for that disappearance. It's exactly where you would expect that causeway to show up. And then he reappears, and we see 4 more seconds of him in frame here. And then this is roughly 3 minutes before any shooting starts. We'll show you the whole stitch together by Milk Bar TV. It's astonishing. Did such an incredible job so we can get a complete understanding of what was actually going on. I think we can account for all of it now. All right. Frustratingly, the video stops with crooks still visible again. If anybody's got more frames of this, we need those desperately. And as well, we would love to get our hands on the raw, uncompressed, full frame. I understand it's a telephoto shot. It's been zoomed in. It's going to be a little grainy and blurry, but if we have the raw film, we have a better chance of stitching it together and making it into something a lot cleaner than what we're seeing. But no matter, this comports with everything else we've seen from the Dave Stewart film, right, which is taken just in front of this building over here. Dave Stewart would be about right down here with the red dots making its motions right here, filming up. Also sees him there, but only just before the shooting starts. So if this film ran longer, we see it, crooks pop his head up. He goes down. We'll explain why in a second. And then he comes back up and pops up. And we see him in the Stewart film 5.3 seconds before the shooting begins. So let's break this down a little bit more. First, let's just watch it a couple more times, just so you're really oriented, so everybody knows what we're looking at. There he is. He runs across. We see him right in front of that building. He disappears. We count about 6 seconds. He's just missing, pops back up over there. You see how he's jumped now all the way from here where he disappears, and he pops back up again over here. Now, again, our explanation for that, which we'll play this while we're talking so that you can just keep watching this. So we're watching him disappear and goes out of view and pops back up again. That's because he's climbing down into that causeway, that little down step, and then back up the step. And maybe, I can't tell from this video, maybe he's also got his backpack on as he's running. I can't tell. He would take it off, presumably, and shuck it right there after, or maybe he takes it off before he climbs up on the roof, throws it on the roof, comes up, scopes out the whole situation, takes a look, and then, in my theory, he climbs back down or crawls back down to his backpack and removes his weapon, which has been disassembled. It's in 2 pieces, and so he's got to reassemble it, and we'll show you the video that I think fits with that very nicely as an idea. Okay. So all of these first shots, this is Copenhaver. Oh gosh, get your laser pointer. This is Copenhaver here. This is the hydraulic line that's hit right here and sprays out. This is the railing that a shot pinged off of, and I think it actually pinged. I have a new video I'm trying to source very carefully, so into thin air. If you've got it, please let me know, because I think it bounces off the railing right between these 2 gentlemen, and of course, this gentleman in blue here is David Dutch, and he was also injured. So all the shots that we have that we can track are clustered right there. And then if you drew lines from them up past Trump's ear, you know where you end up is pretty much exactly where we see Crooks. So this is starting to come together pretty nicely. We're getting it. So let's track Crooks' movement, because this, a lot depends on this. How did he get into position? So we have this awesomely convenient alignment to work with right here, which is that the corner of this big old building, which is actually building 1, in AGR's terminology, this is their main building. The first one you would see if you're driving into the facility from the north, and you come into their main parking lot, that's the big building right there. We can see a lot of identifying features, the vent stack up top. We've got here the telephone pole with a couple of transformers on it. And over here would be the parking lot where everybody is parked and running around. And then this is building 6, which oddly enough, right beneath, this is a place where we know that we had a lot of law enforcement officers in there. So first question is, running on a metal roof typically makes a good amount of noise for people inside. So that should have been a clue to somebody in there. But at any rate, let's work with this corner alignment for now. We have 4 vent stacks here. This, I'm going to call this the 1, 2. This is the 3rd vent stack over. And this corner and the corner of that vent stack line up pretty nicely. So we can start to use that. It's not perfect because of angles and how angles can change, but the alignment of those 2 things, wherever we can draw a line between them, and that line has to be roughly equivalent to this line. So we can say definitively, no matter how we orient ourselves around, that Crooks has to be on this side of the blue line, to the left side, to the west. So Crooks is over here somewhere on the west, which begins to narrow down the possibilities for how he got on the roof and the path he took when he got there. At least the path. We don't know how he got on the roof, but the path he took begins to line up quite a bit. There's a small chance that he could be here in this red dotted circle here that we just can't see. We watch him run across the roof. He could be there, but it's not consistent with him running and then disappearing for 6 seconds and then reappearing. In order for him to have disappeared for 6 seconds, he would have had to run along here, and then he would have had to just drop down, which is possible, but not entirely consistent with the idea of him running over here to that breezeway between the 2 buildings, or whatever we're calling that thing, vestibule, the covered walkway, the connecting door hallway. It's most consistent with him running to here, jumping down, and then coming back up into this spot right here. Shucking his backpack is found right here, and then he crawls up to here, takes a look, crawls back down, gets himself ready, assembles his weapon, comes back up, pops up, takes some shots, if we're assuming he's the one who took the shots and all that. Again, awesome imagery from Spa Guy, who went there and filmed this with a drone from all different angles, did just incredible work. So thank you, Spa Guy. I'm going to use a bunch of your images here because it's just, yes, this gives us the data we needed and deserved to figure out how this is all happening. So, and thank you to everybody who's curious, who's been there helping to get this data together. So without this image, This is a much more difficult shot to put together. This begins to tell the tale. And as well, these are really, really flat roofs. So is it inconceivable that Crook's running basically not hunched over, almost at full height? Is it inconceivable that we could see him running across this roof with his head silhouetted against this roof surface? The answer is no, we could see that because this is a very, very low pitch of a roof. It only rises 1 foot for every 12. It's about 40 feet from edge to peak. So 12 into 40, it's only like a 3.5 foot rise. So somebody who's taller than 3.5 feet, you're going to see their head if they're over here running above this. This one slopes down a little bit. So we would expect to see, if he's running across this aspect right where my dot is going, we would expect to see basically from here up. And that's just rough calculations. We'll let the math wizards out there prove this even better. So here are the possible routes we can take. I knew I made this a little goofy, but let's assume he has to pass through this red circle. Number one, he can come up over back here, and I'll show you another image of this. We have a AC unit. You could have popped up on this. He could have come across this roof line here. And then one of two things. He either ran across this connection, came back here to avoid the parking lot, and then looped through on this purple line, or he could have come over here. There's another connector, breezeway, whatever we're calling these things. There's another connector architectural feature between these two buildings right here. I'll show you that in just a second. Alternatively, he could have just come up on right over here behind this building here. On the backside, we'll see there's both an AC unit and then like a little cheesy Craftsman plasticky sheddy thing that he could have easily gotten to the roof there, and as well come across this black line now and gotten to here. There is another route, which is there's a window on this side, so I have to mention it. It's also possible he came out the window on the second floor of the Overwatch building here and ran across here, but then we'd have to... that raises a lot of very awkward questions if that happened. Finally, he could have, I guess, come across here, run onto building 6, as we mentioned, come to here, and then ducked, and then pop back up and been here. Less likely, but there is another causeway connector here. So those are all the possible ways. He gets on the roof over here somewhere, most likely, runs across, probably comes across this connector, and jumps up on here. Now, this all gets fascinating, because from the Grassley materials, Senator Chuck Grassley put this out here. This is the Beaver County After Action Report. We got a couple things to note. First, they say that right here, there's a picnic table, and they had seen the suspect at this picnic table over here on the north side of the Overwatch building. This is where my most likely is. Here's the Craftsman plasticky building and the AC unit. He would have run up here, come across here, jumped up here, and come out here and done that. So he would have gotten on either here, or he could have gotten on over here. And that's fascinating because they also noted on their after action report, here's his bicycle and backpack that was seen at some earlier time. He was also spotted at this picnic table. He also had a picture taken right here on this retaining wall. So lots of hot action. Like, there's something, this guy's suspicious, dudes. And there aren't that many people back here. It's not like there's a throng of thousands over here. There's a few dozen people here at most. So he's standing out like a sore thumb, acting all suspicious, but this is really damning. They say, direction of travel of suspect. They saw him leave, somebody did, some law enforcement officer, I don't know who yet, saw him leave this picnic table and go this way, which leaves this AC unit over here as another way to get onto the roof. So originally, when I was first doing this a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I thought these were all the areas I circled. This is what I thought. I'm just putting this so we can rule something out. I said I didn't think it was likely that Crooks had used any of these red X's to get up here on this parking lot side. This is crawling with LEO, law enforcement officers, and this is where we have that ladder. It's up in here. I just don't think those are very likely. So I'm pretty sure right now, given his direction of travel across the roof, we can rule out all of these red X's. So that's now green. We're going to move that until we get some other evidence that maybe he came up one of these things and then ran back. We'll drag it out of the red. We'll put it back up into yellow for consideration. As well, we just don't think it's very likely that he tried to get up this side of the building. That's building 1 in the AGR terminology. Remote possibility, there's a group of 3 trees over here. You could scale a tree. These arborvitaes, these cedars, I don't know what they are at a distance. But anyway, pretty tricky to climb up them and then leap from a springy thing and get over. So I'm going to call that very unlikely. Much more likely is this AC unit. Here's the little Craftsman shed I was just talking about, but here is another AC unit, also really not a huge stretch to get from there to there. So it would be one of those two places, and then, of course, then they run across. Now, I'm going to ding this as the most likely until proven otherwise for now, because this seems easiest, because then you don't have to try and haul yourself up this whole length. You can just get up to here, then up to here. Looks pretty doable. Surprising that we had at least 40 local police in charge of guarding this facility here. I don't know how many of them were pushed off to the south, but this is a very obvious spot that you want to prevent somebody from climbing up on, whether they have a hostile or a benign intent, because even if it's benign, just some Yahoo local person, a kid like I would have been at that age, so you know what, I'm just going to climb up on this roof, forget the law enforcement, come around, get a better view. That person would have been exposed to potentially getting sniped, and that would have been a tragedy. So this would have been an obvious spot to have somebody actually stationed. And what's interesting is when we come back to here, we see that there were people in law enforcement spotting bicycles, spotting direction of travel, spotting him at a picnic table, seeing him down here on this retaining wall. So there's plenty of presence back here. Now, what must have happened is that Crooks must have waited until all of those people were somehow not in sight and weren't tracking him anymore, climbed up, jumped up, and the rest is history. So again, from Spa Guy, thank you so much for getting this awesome footage. He watched this whole thing. There's the YouTube link right there. Here's the title, so you want to just search it on Google. Very easy to find. Make sure you subscribe to his channel because he's doing awesome work. So this would be the possible route, jumping up here, coming across, little hop down, across this first breezeway. This is the second one, but that one's exposed all the way over there. That's the one on the other side of that, the ladder would have been tipped up against, and that side is crawling with law enforcement. So unless you're a complete dummy, and I would have taken this to minimize exposure to the parking lot, this is what I would have done. It's much more contained. Then you have to just sort of hop up here and come across, and then once you're there, you're on that roof beyond Building 6, and you would cross right through the red circle that we've identified in order to get over to Building 6. So that makes a lot of sense. I think this, for now, I'm going to call that most likely. Raises a lot of questions about how he was able to do all that without being spotted. And our second set of questions here for today are, why didn't the Secret Service snipers fire? So we know from the Grassley materials that we have Hercules 2 is the sniper team 2. That's the one everybody's sort of seen. They're looking. They're like, what's going on? They jump when the first shots happen. And then we have Hercules 1 down here. Hercules 2, Hercules 1. So first question, and by the way, they have these maps as well. They've identified this. This is from a common map that goes between the Secret Service and the Beaver and Butler County and Washington County folks, right? So we have Washington SWAT way over here. We've got Butler ESU, allegedly another sniper on a roof here. We got a lot of assets all to the south. But here on their map for both of these sniper teams, they would have had their map. If they look down, like who's over there on that roof, they're looking down. They're going to see that Butler and Beaver County are supposed to be here. And really extra confusingly, there's another page of the same planning document that actually shows them that they're supposed to be on exactly the roof that Crooks was on. So if you're down there, you're like, what am I seeing over here? And you flip through, there's friendlies over there. So now you got to do a deconflict. You got to call in and like, what am I seeing? There's going to be alarm at this point in time. Now, again, from the awesome Spa Guy video, we can see this is taken exactly from Crooks' firing position or putative firing position. We can see that Hercules 2 has exactly 100% obstructed view and pretty much zero shot they can take. This is just, nobody should have ever been on that particular spot. Zero. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. At any rate, so we see that these guys can see with an obstructed view. We'll get to that in a second. But Hercules 1, their zone of responsibility would have been south. That, Hercules 2, zone of responsibility is to the north. But they have this totally obstructed view. We know Hercules 2 is supposed to be facing south because they are facing south. There's both of their rifles, their stance and everything. One guy's on the phone in the back there, but the other guy is looking straight south. So this is from the what I'll call the front of the building, facing Trump stage. He's on his glasses right there and his bush hat, looking south. Okay, fine, because that's totally consistent with this, and that's what you would expect, right? Okay. Now, Again, thank God, Spy Guy. So this is the view, though, that you would have had. It's a little higher, but basically, this is the view where we saw Crooks come running across from here. He must have been visible for this whole period of time, assuming that Hercules 2 is actually looking in that direction at that time. So we only saw him on the roof. We only saw him for a number of seconds. So if you weren't just exactly keyed in on that, you might have missed it. Could see that. The red shows that Hercules 2 has an occluded view because of the tree, so they could have only see, assuming Crooks comes from here, runs across here, they're going to lose sight of him right about there, and then he's going to be out of sight in 6 seconds and comes back up and comes back down. So they would have had this view. They would have had at least that amount of time. So if they'd been looking there, but it's really a crappy spot. We have so many questions, like who would put somebody there? Special agent in charge, Tim Burke. Like, we're really, everybody's still not asking the right questions. We need to, I mean, some people are. No, don't get me wrong, not everybody. But the right questions right now are going to be who exactly put those people there. And by the way, as I've noted, Google is heavily suppressing those search results, as I noted in yesterday's piece. Now, here's the magician. That's Justice Coyote, who I keep citing from Twitter because he keeps doing great work. Says, hey, new footage completely breaks the idea that ESU and United States Secret Service being on siloed radio. So let's listen in. Let's remember, this also came from yesterday's piece. Let me get my volume up over here so we can all listen into this from Josh Hawley's grilling of Ronald Rowe.
Include this in the perimeter, has not been relieved of duty. What about the person who's in charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service? Has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed.
We had a counterpart system. It failed. This guy's just busy trying to say, oh, the systems all failed us. We had failing systems. He's doing everything he can in just the weaseliest, most irresponsible, most arrogant way to suggest that nobody was actually at fault because, bad systems. But what the magician here, Justice Coyote, is pointing out is like, well, hang on, from Dave Stewart's amazing video, right, at 6:06 p.m. right here. And I think I have a disagreement with Dave's timing by at least a minute. Maybe 2, not positive, but somewhere around 6:06, when we know the shots rang out at 6:12-ish, depending on how we're doing all this. So these guys are standing here. Can't they just yell up to Hercules 2 right up on the roof there? Can't they just yell up like, hey guys, we have interoperability? Like, here, use the vocal cords. Are we using different airspace? Are we moving different molecules with our vocal cords? Like, it's really inexplicable to say, like, this is BS what this guy's going through. It is junk. We had an interoperability problem as we were going for oh my God. I really despise people who are just doing CYA activity all day long. Come on, dude. A little truth, a little transparency, and try to be something other than a complete wanker with this stuff. That would be awesome. Okay? But anyway, that's another Secret Service lie. So many stacking up. I tell you that that organization has some real leadership problems on its hands. It's going to have to clean house if it wants to do better. And I know there are a lot of good people working there who want to do better. They want to be proud. And they should be proud of being the best. This isn't the best. All right. Now we're going to turn to Milk Bar TV for the absolute win. Milk Bar TV stitched all of this stuff together. It gives us, I think, the clearest view we are going to get. There they are on Twitter from Australia. Follow them. This is amazing. So this is stitching together the Copenhaver video with the other videos. And so now we can finally see this integrated story of what happened. This puts it all together.
He's a valiant fighter. He's a great, great gentleman. So we're going to bring him up can we bring him up for a couple of minutes later? A little bit later. All right. You get ready, McCormick. You get ready. I'll get you up here. The world will see a vibrant Republican Party that is bigger, stronger.
Yeah, throw it on top of the roof. Look.
Thank you.
There he is right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down, see him?
Yeah, he's
See him lying down with his back to you? He's crawled back down at
And
this
so
point,
I'm here with
reassembling
you,
his
fighting
rifle.
like hell to get a senator elected and to make sure we take back the White House. Because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And it's not easy because we have millions and millions of
Assembling his
people
rifle
in our
is finished.
country that
Now he has an
shouldn't be
assembled
here.
rifle. Now he starts
Dangerous
to bear
people.
crawl back.
Criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. And it's much tougher than if it happened. We had the strongest border ever. If you want to really see something, take a look at what happened.
Listen to this at the end.
I hope he's turning this way. Be careful, guys.
Did you hear that? Like that last shot? Oh. And we had other people talking about how we saw Crook's hair fly up at that point. There was a little misting. A lot of people actually saw the headshot. They were all keyed in on that at that point in time. The sound of gunfire had keyed their eyes up there for sure. You can hear that at the end. It's like, look out, he's turning this way. Oh. So shot 9 is the hero's shot of the day because that's the shot that actually stopped him from firing. So if that's Crook's firing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, somebody takes a shot, and I bet that was when that bullet snapped by. He gets a little religion and goes, "Oh no!" And this is actually a dangerous thing I'm doing. Reality must have come sparkling right back into his frame of reference. So this is how I explain all of this now. First, Crooks gets on the roof sometime before 6:08:38 because that's the first moment from the milk bar stitched together. 6:08:38 is the first frame that he appears in on the roof in the Copenhaver video, okay? And then he runs sometime before then, he gets on the roof, but he runs to the west side to avoid detection, and that's why he passes through the red circle. Then ESU sniper Greg is reported to have been the second sniper to have left that adjacent building. On their after-action report, Beaver County put that at 6:09. So no idea of how precise these times are relative to each other, but there's some really awkward timing that we're going to have to dig into just a little bit more because either this is the worst possible luck in the world or somebody's not quite being truthful here or something worse has to be imagined. And so this lot of focus has to go into this timing because it's a little sus at present. Hey, sometimes bad things happen, but that's a little sus. And then Crooks jogs up to his putative firing position, right? He scopes it out. You can see him up there, right? And then the Copenhaver video ends. I think he then heads down to his backpack. That's why when you cut over in that Milk Bar TV, you can clearly see he's got his back turned to the camera for the people on the west side. He's doing something. And then once he's done doing whatever it is, now he flips over, he's got a rifle, and that's when the people start saying, dude's got a gun. So best guess I have, he goes up, runs up, scopes everything out. Cool. Goes back down to his backpack, which has probably been ditched there after he crawled across that little causeway, the breezeway thing, and opens it up, assembles his rifle, comes back up into firing position. Then I think it was in 2 pieces in his backpack. That explains why other people hadn't seen it. A lot of these weapons can actually be disassembled into many, many pieces, but they sometimes break pretty easily into 2. Not folding. That's not like a pin where you fold it. It wouldn't be like a Kel-Tec 2000 or something, not a folding weapon, but one that you can disassemble and you can take the barrel off of the main receiver, and then it's fairly easy to screw those back on, or depending on which mechanism they have on this one. And then Crooks is seen after he's reassembled it. Now he's bear crawling into firing position. People are filming. They're starting to yell about it. We have 2.5 interminable minutes while now police are all around the building, weapons drawn, starting to look, and somehow Secret Service isn't notified or claims they aren't notified, but they leave Trump on stage. A lot of questions about that are going to have to be dug into. And then the shots happen. It's 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then 9, and then 10 seconds later we get shot 10 piling in. And my explanation is that Crooks is startled by that ECU shot, Emergency Services Unit, ESU shot, SU, not ECU. That would be Eastern Carolina University. Don't want to finger them in this. ESU shot, number 9. And that wakes him up. He ducks down and he crawls back some position. So people have been questioning, like, why is his body there? It's too far back from the ridge. Well, the answer is that he took those shots at the ridge. That's why we can see him in Dave Stewart's video with his head up, because he's right on the ridge, as you would expect. It's a good place to brace your rifle. With a braced rifle, maybe we can begin to explain why those 1, 2, 3, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are so accurate, because it's actually braced. Then that round snaps past him. I think it misses him. And he's like, oh, no. Bear crawls in reverse, gets down about 4 feet, thinks he's low enough, but he's not. He's left a little bit of his head exposed above the ridge line. And so that's why when they talk about that 1 in a million shot, I'm going to call it a 1 in 2 shot for somebody with the gear that Hercules 1 has down there on the second sniper position that had the clear line of sight. They're hitting basically an inch of his head or something at, I don't know, 600 feet. I know a lot of people personally who can do that, and they don't even have an Accuracy International rifle with that particular scope set on it. Those things are awesome. I've heard they have a 1/4 minute of angle, 1/4 MOA. That means it's just, dude, you're missing by a 1/4 inch at 100 yards. So at 300 yards, 200 yards, it's going to miss by maybe a 1/2 inch. So that's not a 1 in a million shot. It's a good shot. Don't get me wrong, particularly under pressure. But that's when Hercules 2 takes their 1 in 2 shot. People see his hair fly up and they react to it. Ooh, right? They give you that whole thing. So that's my best explanation for what we've got right now. Thank you to everybody who's contributed so far. This is starting to come into focus, and now we have some real questions about that placement of those two sniper teams, particularly Hercules 2, up there on that building where they had an occluded line of vision, as well as the decision not to put somebody on that Overwatch building where you have a perfect line of sight to everything. That's difficult to explain by just mere incompetence. We have to go, I think, a little further than that. And that's the best explanation I have for now. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time as we continue a citizen's investigation into Trump's near assassination.